Hi guys, my name is Constantin. I run a design studio called Studio Elastic. I'm from Vienna, and it's actually my 3.5 time in Novi Sad. I'm really excited. I feel I'm a little bit of a PDP family member by now. I was here the first time in 2014 as a speaker, and then again in 2018, and then last year we couldn't make it in person, but Wolfgang and me recorded a 1-hour video kind of interview which was broadcasted here, so we were here with you guys in spirit. And yeah, so this is the almost 4th time. Thank you very much to the whole PDP gang. I'm not going to say any names because there's a whole bunch of you guys, but it's just amazing to see how you guys are actually every year stepping it up beyond our expectations, and the level of organization is phenomenal. Mane, for doing the design, unbelievable, really, like you're such an inspiration. I really mean it. Almost makes me almost have to cry. So today's theme, as you guys know, is shift. Shift because we're going to shift through our own practice, also through my practice. The title of the talk is, this talk is about you. I can't just make a whole talk about you guys because I don't know you yet and you don't know me, so I first kind of have to introduce myself, but this talk is really about you because I'm really not that significant to actually hold a whole talk about myself for the 3rd time. I run a design studio called Studio Elastic. My studio is in this backpack, and it has been in this backpack for 20 years. Actually, I started in 2001 in the same backpack. It's the 4th now. I just pick it up. They hold for about 5 years each, and it's pretty amazing because I make it really tall, big actually. This is only like half size. I can make it twice as big, and my whole studio fits into this bag. Why? Because I have, I have something like ants in my pants, and I can't really stay like seated in an office too long. That's the reason why my studio is called Studio Elastic. I have a bunch of friends who run other studios, and some of them call it bureau or office for design, and it's like, for me the idea to the word bureau makes me go like I have to run away. So like I figured 20 years ago that I want to be a designer. I want to design. I love doing that, but I need to be mobile. So I incorporated that in the name Studio Elastic, meaning I can kind of like expand and extract depending on what I'm working on. Also, not only in size, but also in terms of space. This is me. Sorry. Can't actually. I'm sorry. Forgot that. Not gonna happen again.
That doesn't work.
No, that doesn't work.
Nope. Wait, the next one.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Is it recording? Yeah? Yeah? Okay, cool. That's me working in New Zealand on a road trip that my girlfriend and me did under a tin roof with my headlight on my head. And that's me setting up my studio in a friend's patio in Greece, where I stayed for some time. And that's me working with my family on a family trip going up on Mount Etna just a few days after it exploded, where I had to send something off to print. It sounds really fun. It's really stressful also, but it's somehow what I chose to do, and it's somehow also what inspires me and kind of like makes me have my ideas, is to work in kind of like bizarre situations. So. But it's also tough. It's like sometimes really crazy, but yeah. Some of you maybe have seen some of my first talks, but probably most of you not. So I'm just going to quickly show something where I'm coming from. This is a project I did when I was studying in London. I did a master's in typographic studies at London College of Printing. And for my master thesis, I had to do a project, come up with a big master project. And by that time, I was already into the idea of kind of travel and being nomadic and moving around. So I picked this area in East London, Spitalfields, which is a really amazing area for immigration, mainly. It's the area where all the immigrants kind of land in London and then live for a while until they're not immigrants anymore, like fresh immigrants, to then get gentrificated out, and then the next generation of immigrants arrive. It's in East London, and so I did this project where basically I wanted to do a city walk. I wanted to basically enable the regular citizen to understand more about the environment they're in. So together with a friend, I converted this granny trolley, like the shopping trolley, into like a machine that had like a bottle of paint dripping onto it, and I left a 2-kilometer long line in London that I first researched. So like my walk, basically the area that I chose, and then on the line I applied these like poetic messages, but also a lot of local history facts. So I was using typography as the language of typography, basically, to communicate something in public space and allowing people to look beyond what they were thinking to experience. So it became like a kind of like a guided walk. And actually, while I was applying the line, the police called me, and they were like, "What are you doing?" And then I told them that I thought, that this is really important, and that I'm doing this for my master's, and that it's basically that I didn't want to destroy anyone's property, so I chose the pavement because I believed that it kind of belongs to all of us, and they let me continue. So yeah, so that was my master's project, which is interesting because no one knew it was me, but then after a while, somehow like it got published in books, and it kind of had a life on its own for like 10 years. It was getting published. Typography is a big part of what I do. This is an experimental typeface I made for a project I've been involved in with a band called The Acid. They scored a film about atomic bombs that you can watch on Netflix. It's a really intense movie, and that is a typeface that I made for that. I handed out a few of these today. Yeah, I call my fonts LSTK for elastic, and that's LSTK Grete, which was the name of my grandmom. A big part of what I do is designing for music. So obviously, I'm also here as a mentor for the Reculture project, and so my background is mainly or mostly in cultural fields. So I kind of work a lot with musicians, doing artwork for musicians. One of the biggest ones I've worked with is Rai X. Maybe some of you know him. It was his debut album. And he has a side project called Howling. And the brief was basically that I have complete creative freedom. And the only thing I knew was the title, which was Sacred Ground. So I grew up in the back of a little jewelry shop that my father had, and I was listening to him kind of selling or designing jewelry pieces to clients, and so that actually influenced me to create to do this. So basically I had an employee at that time, Felicitas, and I hired her because she applied with like a set of aerial photography that just totally mesmerized me. She was like a really young designer and didn't see any of her design work, but only saw her aerial photography, and I was like, okay, I want to work with that person. So for that project, I asked her if I can actually use her aerial photography, and I basically, for each song of the album, I created one gemstone with her photography. So only now, I'm 43 now, and I'm only realizing I should have maybe not become a graphic designer, but maybe a goldsmith, because I love to work with my hands a lot. So, but it's a bit late now, but maybe I'm still gonna consider doing something like that. Yeah, and then the guys, there was some budget also to shoot a music video, and it was winter time in Vienna, and winter in Vienna is maybe similar to winter in Serbia. It's gray and cold, and it's hard to find sacred ground like in a beautiful representative way. So I grabbed a friend of mine and we flew to the closest place where I knew that there was nice weather, which was Madeira, and we shooted a music video there, and kind of like, you know, filming sacred ground, really. It's a bit hard to see here, but yeah. I'm going to shift to something that's not a cultural project, something that is totally out of my comfort zone, which is, oh sorry, it should say heat time, not hiring sexual. So this is a friend of mine approached me and said that it's like this young group of guys from New York, and they said they're launching a face mask for men, like a facial like beauty mask for men, and I was like, I think the last person ever gonna use a facial mask for men. It's like, I'm totally like, I don't know if I can do that. But I said, okay, I'm gonna work with you guys, and it's a commercial project, but yeah, so I designed for them this like facial mask for men. It's totally out of my comfort zone, but was quite exciting, really great clients, and we won a certificate of typographic excellence at the Type Directors Club, New York, with it, which was really cool. That's kind of how the mask looks, and that shape actually, we came up with that shape on my face, so I was actually the model for a face mask I'm never gonna wear. So it's kind of cool because it's really for men, so it's like supposed to work, you know, with men with a beard. There's a few men with beards here, you could use that facial mask. Yeah, so it's kind of like the idea to be a bit like a warrior kind of thing also. So yeah, the shift. Shifting to a project that Wolfgang already showed. I didn't know he's going to show that, but that's Werkraum. That's actually that place where we were doing an exhibition design there. It's this beautiful place in Vorarlberg. This beautiful architecture space, huge. It's much bigger than it looks on this picture. And we were doing like this exhibition design. It was very dry, very kind of like almost too dry for my kind of like liking, because I like things not to be too dry, actually a bit more human and like alive. But yeah, shift, you know, I think it's I think why I'm showing it is because I would like to inspire you guys, or like maybe like communicate that I think, you know, like a career, or like in a career you need to shift, you know, you need to like do things that you maybe not like so much, but also really also do things that you like, you know, like a lot, you know. I think you need to do what you want to do, but, you know, accept that there's going to be shifts into directions that are maybe like more on the outskirts of what you would usually maybe do, you know. So like, yeah, but it's beautiful. Wolfgang's work is really stunning. My work is maybe like, as you said before in your talk, it's not so much about me, but it needed that, you know, the client and the whole space kind of needed something that was clean and not, it wasn't about me as a graphic designer shouting there. It never is actually. It was about the project. What does the project need? What do we need to convey the message, you know? So yeah, that's some catalogs. They look like some catalogs they were supposed to look like catalogs from like a washing machine kind of manual, like very dry. This is a project I did for a project in India. Again, Wolfgang involved also. Lalit Kala Academy in India that was exhibiting artworks from teachers from the university where I also teach at, the University of Applied Arts in Vienna, the Department of Digital Arts. So there was a lot of kind of like interactive pieces and kind of like, yeah, so we also did a publication, and I thought, okay, it's a publication of European kind of work in India, and my total perception of India is like probably most of you like thinking about like all these colors and people on the street, and like I didn't think about like technologically advanced, which is totally bullshit, you know, but that was my thought. And so I thought, okay, let's do something that's really, you know, like showing them our kind of like visual, representing that project. So I chose this neon green and stuff, and it turned out to be some artwork in there, and it turned out to be actually a really beautiful piece. And then the same guys, the same university then came to Austria and exhibited in Austria, so I thought I'd do it the other way around. So now I kind of like show, I kind of like communicate the Indian kind of look into the Austrian environment, cultural environment. So that's actually just the logo of the university, and I thought it's so beautiful and strong. It says everything. I just don't need anything, you know. I just like put it into like this context, and yeah, and we did some like, you know, like in the exhibition, and then some again Wolfgang doing like scenography, and this guy is very close to the wall. This guy. Another project, you know, that was dealing with culture was basically this publication for the for an exhibition at the Moscow Biennial of Contemporary Art, and the thing was this it was supposed to be this publication that was English but also in Russian, and I can't really read Cyrillic like you guys can, but for me it's like I don't have any idea. It's like, but so I had to design a book in Cyrillic as well. So we did this thing. I did something maybe a bit daring. So there was this beautiful photography of the pieces. So it's like 3D printed pieces that were put into like artistic context. So the whole exhibition was about using 3D printed or like exploring where you can go with 3D print. You know, like what you can do with it in an artistic sense. And so I said, okay, I have this book, and from one side it's English, and you turn it around, from the other side is Russian, and then in the middle the pictures twice. And I thought it's such a great idea, like I've never seen it before, great, and you know, and I love it, but the professor who was like kind of like, she hates it. She thinks it's totally terrible, it's totally waste of space. I think it's great. That's some guys who took like the jaw of a bunny rabbit and 3D printed the missing teeth. So it's just like some, and that's the Russian part on the other side. Like, yeah, like I don't know, I have no idea if it, but it, yeah, apparently like it was lectured and everything, and it made sense. But so there's no pictures here. There's like, you always have to. So I think the reason why they didn't like it is because like where there's not, it says the text, but it doesn't show the pictures of the artists, and you have to kind of like go into the middle, and you kind of have to use the book a little bit. So yeah, we're running out of time. And that's just another project where also I did some custom typeface design. Yeah, and then this is a project that's very dear to my heart, kind of like a big moment for me, because it was a little bit of a shift in a turning point maybe in my career and in my interest in the practice as a designer, which is basically it's a restaurant in the Museum of Applied Arts in Vienna, the MAC. It's a beautiful museum. It's really the most important museum for me, as I kind of like grew up there. My father was a collector of things that are in this museum also, so I was always surrounded with these objects, and it's a place that's still there. It's called Salon Plafond, And I was, for some years, I was doing all the graphic work, and I thought, all right, they're in a museum, so let's give them, let's make the menus and everything, like, let's give them art as a, you know, like, it's not just a museum, but like, let's do something artistic. So all of the menus were limited edition risograph prints, and they were really like handmade, and each of them, and it was a lot of work going into them, and it was kind of ridiculous because, you know, like in a restaurant sometimes, you know, they maybe have to change the menu or they have to take off you know, a dish, and it was basically not possible because it was like a big, but it got taken into the museum's collection of graphic work, and they all got stolen also. So it's like it became this thing in Vienna, kind of like it was like, and every month they were different. So, but it was a lot of work, and they were really beautiful. And then with this one, this was like that was the turning point for me, because that one was the theme of sailing, basically, which is like a huge, crazy passion. I think I'm obsessed with sailing. And that here on the right is Joshua Slocum, who was the first person to sail around the world. And I did this edition, which was white risograph ink onto black paper, and that's really difficult to print, and it's kind of very faint. And so the problem was that inside I printed the prices in white, so like the dishes were in black and the prices were in white, and I delivered and it was so much work, and like I delivered the menus, and then they were using it, and then after some weeks the owner, who's a dear friend of mine now, the owner said, Constantin, we have to redo them. Like, people say they can't read the price because it's so dark in the restaurant. They can't read the price, and I just I can't redo it. It was so much work. You don't know. He's like, no, we have to redo it. And I just say to him, fuck you, I'm not going to do it. And I lost the job. And I'm really dear friends with him, but I could not go into the compromise of changing anything about it. I really was fighting for it. I was like, it doesn't matter, it's avant-garde, you know, like people are gonna pay whatever they pay. They don't need to know just tell them how much it costs. This is a piece of art, I'm not gonna redo it. And then also for him, I did these editions of posters, and together with my girlfriend, who's a filmmaker, and she collaborated with me with this. I was sitting in Greece at that first thing in the backyard working on this. And I was like, never get lost. And this is like a sextant that you use for sailing when you have no electronic navigation devices that helps you to navigate with astral, kind of like with the star signs. I was like, my girlfriend was like, never get lost naked. So I was like, that's so good, I'm gonna use that. Never got lost naked, because like that's shit. If you get lost naked, what do you do? Like, that's a problem. So that basically gave me a full open stage for my real obsession, and I started to really like dive deep into sailing, and started my sailing license kind of like education, which took a lot of years. In Austria it's really tough, it takes years, it's bizarre. I've been on it for 4 years. I finally got the thing now, but this was really tricky. Like for me, so also with the graphic design out there, there's like all this like, you know, bureau kind of work, really like clever, you know, it's like, I don't work like that. I work with feeling and passion, and I feel the stuff. So like for me, navigating and calculating and doing maths and stuff, for me, it's like, it's not my forte, you know, but so I somehow like I cracked that. And I fulfilled myself a big childhood dream, which was I owed myself finally a boat. It lived on a lake, it looks huge, it's tiny. This is a tiny boat, 6 meters, and that's me and my girlfriend in the boat sailing. To give you context, that's how big it is. It's really like a rowing boat, it's tiny. It's called Vadereto, it's from Asterix, Vadereto means like, go away, you know, it's like, you're too slow, like it's kind of like this thing. And so I learned sailing. Was the lake where I learned is called Neusiedlersee, and it's crazy windy. If there's like 4, 5, 6 Beauforts, like that's like a lot. Like people go sailing, and I also went sailing then. And so now I'm sailing in the Mediterranean, and when it's that kind of weather, people usually don't go. So it was really good learning. So the idea was basically that my girlfriend and me wanted to take that sailboat from, bring it into the Adriatic Sea, and then sail it from Italy to Greece. And the idea was to do that in last year, but then this happened. It was the lockdown, and we couldn't do it. So we were stuck in Austria. And I don't have a studio because I want to do things like that, so I was just working from home. I didn't leave home for like a long time, just always at home working. So when I met my girlfriend 5 years ago, she's a filmmaker, she said, you know, I'm going to, there's going to be times when I'm going to be traveling for 3 months, you know, and I have to do it, it's my passion. And I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to wait here for you, I'm going to go sailing. So this year it happened. She went to Africa and she filmed a really exciting documentary for national TV, wildlife documentary in Tanzania about Lake Tanganyika. And that's her, with kind of crazy in times like these, but she was doing really well. And yeah, and I basically went next level, and I bought myself a proper boat. It's still not huge. It's like 9.5 meters, but it's a serious ocean-going, travel the world kind of boat. It's a small Halber Grassi Monsoon 31, so it's a serious boat. And it lives now in Monfalcone in Italy, North Italy. And I've been there now for 3 months. The idea is to basically live on that boat as much as possible and to work from there, to run my design studio and her kind of like filmmaking studio. The idea is to call it the sailing studio. But yeah, I've been the last 3 months basically like working I think I've never ever worked as much as this last 3 months. I took apart the engine, everything. It's just that thing. And I watch all these sailing videos, and I knew it's a lot of work, but it's just out of this world lot of work. It's so bizarre, and it's so like I'm 100 years old already. Like I feel really so but I had to do it, and so this is like one of the rare moments actually of actually sailing, because I didn't sail much. I was just repairing. But the reason why I wanted to show you that was because, you know, there's all these like amazing examples of work people do and design people do, you know, and in your fields and whatever you guys are doing. But I think it's just like important to accept shift and accept change and go with what you feel you have to go with. In my case, I knew this is something I have to do. It took many years for it to kind of like uncover. And I don't know where it's taking me. Maybe I'm gonna stop designing at some point. I got offered to sell my neighbors, they're old people, to sell their boat. Maybe I get a commission, maybe I earn even more money than being a designer, I don't know. Maybe I just design on the boat. It's a new chapter, I have no idea where it takes me, but it's part of shift, and I think it's something that I really just have to do right now. And I encourage you guys to do whatever you guys have to do, whether it is you know, starting your own design practice, or having your design practice and going into collaboration with others, or doing work for free or not doing it for free. I think there is no comparisons. I think there can just be people who maybe just tell you like, do whatever you have to do because you can do it, and I think that's kind of like what the reason why I think I wanted to give this talk today. So thank you very much, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the show. Thanks.